Boa tarde, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Portuguese Online. I am your host, Joe Lyon. It's laundry day today, which means that the only shirt I have left is this oversized brown one. Rockin' in the oversized brown shirt, rockin'. Enough of that. Today we're going to be talking about nouns and articles. Now, like I said in other videos, you kind of need to know what a noun is and an article is in English before you can know what a noun and an article is in Portuguese. Many people say that learning a language through grammatics is actually not as efficient. However, that's kind of weird because grammar is language. It's kind of like saying, let's teach this guy how to play soccer without teaching him how to kick. So a noun is a person, place, or thing, and sometimes it is included as an idea, and an article is anything that comes before that to help with us understanding what the noun is. The nouns that we're going to be talking today are the simple a and the, and also we're going to be talking about this, that, and really that's all we're going to be talking about. So in order to understand the nouns in Portuguese, or actually any Romantic language, we need to understand the importance of the female and the male. No, I'm not talking about the gender of a human, I'm talking about the gender of a noun. Nouns in Portuguese, as well as other Romantic languages such as Spanish, Italian, and French, have different genders for the nouns. Some are female, or feminine, and others are male, or masculine. The noun's gender doesn't only affect the noun itself, but also affects the article and what we're going to be talking about in the next video, adjectives. So the best way to describe what the difference between the two is basically showing you some examples. Let's look at the word for house. Now, it is spelled the same as it is in Spanish, and in Spanish it's casa. However, here's a little bit of a pronunciation thing that I'm going to teach you. When an S is in between two vowels, it is no longer an S. It is in fact a Z. So this isn't casa, like you would say in Spanish, it is casa, like you would say in Portuguese. So there isn't just one rule to tell the difference between a masculine noun and a feminine noun that covers every single noun that exists, but there is a general rule that you can use, and that is simply the last letter in the noun. In this case, it is an A. A's are female. O's are masculine. Another example of this is the word for thing, which is coisa. Coisa. Remember in the pronunciation there is the OI, which is non-nasal. Now some examples of some masculine nouns. Livro. Livro. This means book. Like, you know, take a book, in a book. And you can tell that this is masculine because it ends with an O. Livro, therefore it's masculine. The O's are masculine. Now it's kind of weird just saying book. I mean, if you were to go into Brazil and you just pointed to a book and say book, people will know that you do not speak the language. So we need to put an article in it. An example of an article in English is the. You don't just say book, you say the book. So what if you want to say the book? Well, the is just one word in English. However, in Portuguese, because of the masculine and feminine, there are actually two. So let's put up casa. Remember, it is a Z, not an S, because it is in between two vowels. So this just means house, but if you want to say the house, you put the article in the front, which is a. Now because the noun is feminine, the article must be feminine, and the feminine article for the is a. So you say a casa when you mean the house. However, when you say the book, because the book is masculine, the article, which is the, must change to masculine, which is simply o livro. So a and u mean the exact same thing, it's just that it depends on what the noun is. However, what if you're talking about more than one house? In English, you just add an S, so instead of saying book, you say books. Portuguese is pretty much the same thing. Instead of livro, you say livros. Now there are exceptions to these rules. Pay attention to these exceptions. I'm not going to teach them on this video, but you can easily look them up online. You can also look them up on Phrasebooks and dictionaries. Because you changed the noun and the article is such good buddies with the noun, you must change the article as well. So if you pluralize or make livros plural, you must make the article plural. You can never ever say o livros, and you can never ever say os livro. They have to agree with each other. You have to say os livros. And it's the exact same thing with the feminine. You just add the S at the end to both the article and the noun. As casas and a casa. Now let's say you don't want to say the house or the book. You want to say a book or a house. Well, a is another article and therefore it is masculine and feminine as well. So let's start with livro. So you remember a couple videos ago I talked about the EM at the end of words? How it's actually not pronounced M like you would in English, but pronounced eng? Well, the same thing happens with the UM. It is nasaled as well. So instead of saying like we would in English, it is actually The female version of the article a is uma. So you would say uma casa. Now in Portuguese, it does exist where you have it pluralized, so you say umas casas. Also instead of livro, you have uns livros, where the M changes to an N. This does mean some houses and some books, however it's not really used a lot in Brazil. At least when I was there I didn't see it that much. What was used more often to say some houses was algumas. I'm going to say that again. Algumas casas. And the masculine form of some books is alguns livros. Algumas and alguns. Notice that the feminine has an M and the masculine has an N. So the next two words that we're going to talk about is that and this. Now that and this are kind of unusual words because they can be used both as articles and also as pronouns. I should probably give you an example. So when they're used as an article, they're used to support a noun. For example, instead of saying a house or the book, you're saying that house or this book. So a good way to describe it is having the two people within the conversation. These are going to be my wonderful XKCD characters, and they're going to represent the speaker and the receiver, the listener, the person in the conversation. I'm going to put an L for listener. Hopefully you understand what that means. So let's say that we have an object, like a little box, and the speaker is talking about the box. Actually, let's go one step further. Let's talk about box in Portuguese. Box is caixa. So we have this box that's in the conversation, and it is really close to the speaker. Let's say it's actually closer to the speaker than it is the listener. Now in English, when the speaker is talking to the box, it would say this box, because the box is closer to him. I mean, he's talking about this box. When the box is closer to the listener, then the speaker says that box. I mean, that box that is close to you. Now let's say that the box is way over in the horizon. It's past the listener and the speaker, and it's outside of the two people talking to each other. In English, we would still use that box. We would just say that box way over there. In Portuguese, however, that box close to you and that box way, way far over there are actually different. So because we're talking about a box, and box is feminine in Portuguese, we're going to use the feminine form first. This box, the thing, the object that is closer to you, is esta caixa. This looks a lot like esta with the accent at the end, which is to be in the second and third person singular form. Ha, I got it right. However, there is no accent at the end, so it's just esta. Now that box, not the box way, way off on the horizon, but the box that is closer to the listener, that would be essa caixa. However, the caixa is just way over in the horizon. Then you use aquela caixa. Now let's say that it's not a box. Let's say that it is, well, let's say that it's a book. It's a livro. So now you have livro. This is masculine. So to change this to masculine, you take away the A and you say este. It ends with a TE, and the TE in Portuguese is a ch sound. Change that to esse, and you change the A to aquele. Now these three words are in the masculine form. Now what if we're talking about a thing? And no, I'm not talking about the word thing in Portuguese, which is coisa, which is feminine, but it's something that you really don't know what it is. And if you don't know what it is, you don't know what gender it is. Well, Portuguese speakers have actually found a way to get around this. They use the neutral sense. We don't know if it's female, so we can't use feminine, and we don't know if it's male, so we can't use masculine. So we're just going to call it neutral. The thing is right next to me, and I'm the speaker, you use isto. Isto. And when it is closer to the listener, not to you, the speaker, it is isso. And when you have no idea what it is, whether it's feminine or masculine, and it's way over on the horizon, you don't say aquelo, you say aquilo. The E changes into an I, so you have aquilo. So what if you have more than one object? What if you have more than one book, or you have more than one caixa, or you have more than one neutral thing. It's very easy just to all of these, you add an S. So instead of esta, you have estas. So instead of saying essa casa, you say essas casas. Now a kilo, a keli, and a kela are kind of easy to remember because it's longer words and it's a longer distance away. You can remember isto, esci, and esta by just remembering that this and these have T's. Okay, that was a little bit complicated, so I'm going to make it simplified by using a little diagram. So when you're saying this thing, like this thing closer to the speaker, you use esci, esta, and istu, depending on the gender. If it is plural, you use escis, estas, and istu. They don't really have a plural form of the neutral sense. When you're talking about that object, which is closer to the listener, you say essi, essa, or isu, depending on the gender. And if it is plural, you use essis, essas, and isu, because there's no pluralization in the neutral sense. And when it is something far away, outside of the conversation, you use a keli, a kela, and a kilo. If it is pluralized, then you use a kelis, a kelas, and a kilo just remains the same. Well, just keep practicing that. It might be a little bit confusing at first, but after a while you should get it down quite well. In just a little bit, I'm going to give you some nouns, and these are going to be your vocab list for this lesson. Now, when you do your own study and your own memorization of nouns, I strongly recommend that along with these nouns, you learn the articles, because not only will you practice these articles, but you will understand the gender of the noun that you are memorizing. So there's going to be 10 on this list. I'll start with the feminine ones. A coisa, which is the thing. A casa, which is the house. A caixa, which is the box. A palavra, which is the word. A comida, which is the food. And now with the masculine ones, there's o livro, which is the book. O frase, which is the sentence or phrase. O nome, which is the name and also is the noun. O bolo, which is the cake. And o carro, which is the car. Now, if you want to learn more words than this, go right ahead. More power to you. This is basically the bare minimum. Memorize this before the next video, at least. Keep memorizing those words. There are a ton of nouns. Any object that exists has a word, and any object that exists is either masculine or feminine. So, as long as you're practicing the articles with the nouns, learn as many nouns as you want. So keep working on your memorization, and good luck. My name is Joe Lyon, and I hope to see you in the next video. Ciao!